All right, today, because it's Friday on your morning and all over Earth, we are talking about watches just because it's a little bit of a lighter topic to get us in. It's time up for the watch, though. That's the question. This was an opinion piece in the Toronto Star where someone wrote in saying, does wearing a watch make me look old? Is a watch an outdated fashion statement? Is it an outdated statement of status? Now, this question comes because we generally see many people wearing something on their wrist, but it's not necessarily one of these old school watches.
It's more like this guy over
here. It's more like this.
Yeah.
It's more of a piece of tech. So what do you guys think? What is a regular old watch? Not a Fitbit, not an Apple Watch. What does a regular watch say about you?
I am sure that there is a divide between young and not so young on this matter. But watch culture is alive and well. It is thriving. And if you don't believe it, go take a look at how much these watches actually cost. I mean, the demand is there for them. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be charging $76,000 to $77,000 for a watch.
Well, the resale market on these is not always that great, though. There are sites that track the resale market.
I have no desire to resell any of my watches.
Well, you know, but some people do, and the thing is that you appreciate that items, luxury items, usually appreciate in price. Handbags, usually that's the case. Watches as well, but some of these items will stay on the market for an average of 41 days. That's not a very quick turnaround time if you're talking about the resale value of these watches. But what you're saying is the value is not about money.
So much of it is. I mean, my dad gave me his father's watch. I have a lot of expensive watches, but the one that means the most to me is a Birks Eternomatic that was given to my grandfather for 35 years of service at the Quebec North Shore Paper Company. When I brought it into Birks for them to fix it, they had to send it to a specialist because they didn't fix it that way anymore. And it is, to me, the most valuable watch I own.
Well, let's talk about perhaps not luxury watches, but just a regular old watch. Swatch is the #1 watch seller in the world. In 2017, they saw profits plunge by 47%. In February of this year, exports were actually 10% lower than they had been a year earlier. So when we look at even watches that are much more affordable, the sales aren't necessarily as high as they've been.
It's a redundant item.
I will say,
a watch on your phone.
On your phone, you do. I will say, as an adult, as a grown-up, I got my first watch that I wore consistently after 5 years of service here at Bell Media, and I felt very grown up. It was a status thing for me because as a kid, I don't know that I was ever responsible enough to wear it. I don't wear a watch because for me, it falls into the category of jewelry. And as you can see on the show, I don't wear a lot.
I think that's where a lot of people, if they're not talking about the tradition of a watch, if they're not talking about that sentimental value that comes from it being handed down generation to generation. I remember Usher. His music video, You Don't Have to Call, he's getting ready. He goes into his closet, and this is 2001, mind you, before the iPhone, and he has a whole row of these diamond-encrusted watches, and you're seeing this as a teenager being all into hip-hop culture, being like, that's how a man should accessorize himself with a watch because he doesn't have much else to choose from, right? And so there's a lot of people in the fashion industry who see that in hip-hop culture who are like, yeah, that's what a watch is all about. That's why I want the luxury item. But I don't think a lot of people fall into that category anymore just because they're carrying on an iPhone.
I think there's still tons of people buying watches, but part of me hopes that you're both right and that the price of Rolexes and APs just plummets so that Ben can actually afford one or two.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.